What's up guys, Allan Morrow here. Today I just want to go over a recent post that I put on Facebook, which I have in my hand here. Telltale signs your Mixdown is poor. Now I basically just wanted to go through this list and just give you a little bit more detail on each of them basically, for any of you that missed it. So yeah, let's get started. Number 1, your kick sounds distant in the mix. Now this can be happening for a couple of reasons. You know, the kick might just be too quiet in the mix and the volume needs to come up, or there could be certain elements that are clashing with your kick, which is going to make it sound like it's further away. So what you need to do is solo your kick and then bring in each element. This is what I do when I'm doing my Mixdown, is I'll solo my kick and then I'll bring each element in, and if I find that element is making that kick sound change, then I know that they're not working together very well. So what I then need to do is obviously mix accordingly so that's not happening. Number 2, your kick becomes less prominent when the track has more elements. Again, just going back to point number 1, if you find that your kick sounds fine at say the 33 bar mark, but as you go further into the track, when more elements are added, your kick sounds like, you know, it's not as prominent anymore, then it's due to the fact that, you know, your kick is being masked by certain elements. So again, go back to what I said before, solo the kick, get your elements, bring your elements in, you know, solo individual ones and just see which ones it is that's causing that to happen. Number 3, your track sounds hollow. Okay, so I generally find that this happens when you have certain elements that are phasing with each other, or if you have resonating frequencies, this can make your track sound quite hollow. You know, it can almost sound like there's heaps of reverb around it. So yeah, go in there and fix those issues too. Number 4, the volume increases as the track progresses. Okay, so if you bounce down your track and you find that your volume sort of goes like this as more and more elements and it's just getting louder and louder, the peaks are getting higher and higher, then basically what you want to do there is, I generally have my kick as being the loudest part in the track, peaking at the highest. So what I'll then do is mix everything around my kick. If I find elements that are coming in and the track's just getting higher, louder and louder, it generally means that they're not mixed together properly. So you want to fix those with either EQ, you know, proper leveling and stuff like that. Number 5, elements disappear when switched to mono. So it's good practice to, you know, check your track in mono as you're mixing it and working on it. And if you find that certain elements drastically drop in volume, or, you know, they almost disappear when you switch to mono, then what you need to do with those elements is basically lay off the stereo plugins with them. You know, bring it in a little bit more to the center, have a listen to see how that sounds, and yeah, basically that should fix your issue. Number 6, your track lacks depth. Okay, so this is something that I recently went over in the latest tutorial, layering in depth. Now you can have the elements that you've got in the track mixed well together, but your track can still be lacking in depth. And what I mean by that is, I mean elements that sound further away, closer, you know, sounds that sit underneath each other, sounds that sit on top. So this is going to obviously be detrimental to your Mixdown, and obviously it's not going to sound as professional. So that's another area to look at to obviously get your Mixdown sounding as best as you possibly can. Number 7, your build-up is louder than your drop. Okay, so this is something that you obviously don't want to happen, because you're going to then get massive anti-climaxes. So what I tend to do when I work on my tracks is I'll obviously work on it as I do, and then I'll bounce it down and I'll have a look at the audio file and visually see if the peaks of my build-up is louder than my drop. And if it is, then I know I've obviously got to work on the build-up, whether that's automation or EQ, you know, high-pass filters and stuff like that, to obviously make sure that that build-up isn't as loud as the drop. Number 8, certain elements are cancelling out others. So what I mean by this is, if you have like a couple of layers that sound exactly the same, you know, there's really not much difference in them, and you're bringing those layers in but you're really not hearing anything, all you're basically going to be doing there is they're actually just going to be cancelling each other out. It's not actually sounding fatter. Again, this is something that I went over in the layering and depth tutorial, and obviously my Mixdown tutorial as well. So you want to be making sure that your elements aren't doing that. Number 9, your track sounds harsh and tinny. Okay, so this is generally either because you've got too much of your high stuff boosted too high, or it can be that your elements aren't balanced properly, so your low end and your high end isn't balanced. So if you have a lack of low end in your track, it's generally going to sound like a little bit more tinny and harsh on the ears. because it's not rightly balanced. So you want to make sure that your highs and your low frequencies are nicely balanced, and then it's not going to have that harshness to the track. Number 10, your track sounds muddy and boomy. Okay, so what might be happening here is you have too many low end frequencies clashing with each other, they're building up, and you get that boomy sort of like, muddy sound. Or it could be the fact that, that you haven't got enough high end in your track to balance that out and have a nice balanced mix. Kind of like point number 9, where I said your sounds are harsh and tinny. It's the opposite. You've not got enough highs to balance out the lows, so it just sounds really bassy. So what you want to do there is really just concentrate on getting those levels of your mix right, so it's nice and balanced. Okay, and finally, number 11, you have big spikes in your wave file. Okay, so what I mean by this is, what I like to do is bounce down my track, and I like to visually look at the audio file and basically see if there's any drastic spikes inside the track. What I will then do is, if I find that there is any, I'll go in and I'll go and figure out where they are, find the exact channel, find out what's causing it. It could be certain elements that are sitting on top of each other that are creating that spike. So you need to just go in, find out where that is, and obviously fix that issue. Because what's going to happen is, if you've got these massive spikes in your wave file, when it comes to mastering, they are going to distort before the track even gets the compression and limitation threshold, and that's obviously going to cause issues in your final track. Okay, so I hope that's helped some of you understand why your Mixdown is sounding poor. And if you are wanting a much more in-depth look at this and how to mix down track properly, you can check out my Mixdown tutorial on the website. That's allanmorrowstudios.com. The video is over 3 hours long, and I basically go over the whole track and basically show you every little single channel and how to mix them all properly together so you get that professional sound. Also guys, be sure to subscribe on the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell for future videos. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you again soon.